Claire Booth Luce famously said to Condé Nast, a good editor follows the trends and then finds good writers to write that story instead of the story they want to write about. I had coffee with Marlene Miglin this week at my Sunday Starbucks. I asked Marlene what temple or synagogue she goes to. She said she and her family go to Holy Name. She's not Jewish, but apparently everybody thinks they are. At the crucifixion, Christ didn't say, "Forgive them, for they know not what they do," just because he was being crucified. It was a blanket statement about everything we do. We don't really know what we're doing. We need to give up the story we're trying to write and follow our editor. It's the best kind of story we can tell. Welcome. Welcome to Sunday Coffee Hour. I'm Stanley Smith at Sunday Coffee Hour. We talk about everything and nothing. This Sunday, we talked about people to people, labeling things right, talking in the third person, and the genesis of allergies. The readings at Washington National Cathedral were from Proverbs. Understanding always raises her voice. And from Romans, we're justified by faith. The gospel reading was from Matthew. Love God with all your heart, mind, and soul, and your neighbor as yourself. Jesus didn't say it, but he had a good editor. The sermon at Washington National Cathedral was by Dr. Aligracia Perez Ballard. She said the gospel reading says you should love the Lord with all your heart, mind, and soul, and your neighbor as yourself. She said Jesus expands on the Shema, the Jewish confession of faith, as found in Deuteronomy. The Shema, along with temple service and acts of loving kindness, form the example of our lives on which the entire world hangs. Jesus substitutes the word mind for might to emphasize love. Heart means will, soul means life, and mind means wealth of love. Acts of love represent a right love of self and others. We can all see people in need and we can stop and help them and care for them. It isn't hard to do. Dr. Ballard listed all the LGBTQ, trans, cisgender, non-binary conforming two-spirit genders as recognized on Pride Sunday. It's a never-ending list. So we can learn people's names and pronouns and not be biased or bigoted or fall prey to gossip. People don't need our pity or our tolerance. They just need our love. We can offer that no matter which side of the road we're on. Life is short and we're just passing by, but we can stop and love and care before the opportunity to do so passes us by. At St. James, the sermon was by Dr. Willoughby. Mr. Willoughby gave encouragement to St. James as they start the next chapter on their pilgrimage of serving the Lord instead of serving themselves. Dr. Willoughby said there is more genetic diversity in the Congo, African Congo, than in the United States. As much as we feel divided in America, we're surprisingly homogeneous. Dr. Willoughby studied at the University of Chicago. And while I was there on Sundays, he always attended St. Paul's, the Redeemer, at 8 o'clock, came downtown to St. James for 9 o'clock, and at 11 o'clock, he attended the Fourth Presbyterian Church of Chicago to hear the famous Welsh preacher, Elam Davies. He said churches in Chicago had such terrific talent on Sunday mornings. Dr. Willoughby said we can't be the church by excluding others, but we do so all the time. Dr. Willoughby said there's a statue of Paul Linnaeus on the campus of the University of Chicago. Linnaeus organized the genus of plants and animals, organizing them into species and class. It's something we all like to do, to bring order to things and order nature. It's a human construct. We put people into boxes without even realizing it. We all like order, and some of us benefit from it. If you're running an organization or an institution, it's often mission critical. If you're running a church, it's probably death's knell. We can have order and we can have the church, but church starts the moment we walk through the door and into the world. I embarrassed myself when I asked Marlene if she was Jewish. I didn't apologize. The book of Genesis is the genesis of the original mistake of seeing ourselves as different or as the other or apart. The Jews are the original other, and they still are. Anyone who identifies as a people, even if God himself has ordained it. We can't champion every other because they keep making new ones. Whose job is it to recognize them all? The church, an organization, or the government? Dr. Ballard was correct. We can all see people in need, and we can stop and help them. Most of us don't do that. That's why we have an ever-growing bureaucratic state to do so on our behalf. Organizations do their part by pitching in to preserve themselves at their constituents' expense. My faith is in the complete depravity of organizations, institutions, the church, and the government to preserve themselves enough for their own benefit to indirectly preserve the whole. It's the trickle-down effect of complete immorality. Many falter for lack of fortitude, believing in their own bullshit. At the crucifixion, Christ says, "Forgive them, for they know not what they do." It wasn't commentary on the crucifixion. It was a blanket statement about everything we do. We don't know what we're doing. Yes, we can ask people their name, use their name and their pronoun. It's simple enough. Jesus said a lot of stuff he never really said. Most of it was quote citations with the help of a good editor. We all have a story we want to write about, but we have an editor who has another story he's writing about us. It's a story about loving the Lord with all your heart, mind, and soul, and your neighbor as yourself. It's a story that's always seeping out, even when we're not really trying. If you would like to join us at Sunday Coffee Hour is every Sunday at 12 noon Central Time on Zoom. I'll include my email in the description of this video. Be happy to send you an invitation. And I look forward to seeing you very, very soon.